Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's kick things off with a story that's equal parts bizarre and infuriating. Imagine catching a delivery driver, someone you're supposed to trust, swiping a package right off your porch on camera. This wasn't just any package either. It was something the family really needed for the winter. What happened next? Well, let's just say karma came calling faster than that pizza delivery. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. When Dominos delivers and steals your package. This happened to us just a few nights ago. We were out running errands and on our way home when we got a notification from our Ring doorbell. We were a couple of blocks away and assumed it was just another car passing by our house. When we got to our street, we saw a Domino's Jeep parked in front of our house, and the driver was getting into the driver's seat and leaving. We thought she was just delivering a pizza to a neighbor since we'd just gotten food. If you watch the video, you can even see our car coming up the road toward the end. We grabbed the groceries and headed to the front door, but then I realized the package I'd gotten a notification about wasn't there. I mentioned it to my husband, and he jokingly asked, "What if Domino's took it?" We checked our Ring video, and sure enough, we saw the Domino's delivery woman stealing our package. This package contained a heater for our home. Most of our heaters broke last year when we first moved into our house, and we were just getting around to replacing them for the winter. We really needed it, especially since I'm pregnant and need to stay warm. We could have let it go and had Amazon send us a new one, but we were so upset, especially since we literally saw her drive away with our property. And with my hormones all over the place, I was furious. My husband called the police while I headed to the nearest Domino's that delivers to our neighborhood. I showed them the video, and they confirmed that the woman in the video was an employee currently on shift. The supervisor at the store said he'd get in touch with his manager, who would update me as soon as possible. I'm glad they didn't make me wait at the store because I was so angry I might have lost it. To spare the details, here's the summary. There was a lot of back and forth between us, the manager, and the cops. The video was shared with everyone involved, and they tracked her down while she was still on delivery. They arrested her and returned our package. It ended up being a very happy ending, and I'm grateful for that Domino's store and their workers, as well as the police, for getting our package back and catching the thief. I don't blame the store for what happened, just the person who decided to steal from us. Now she's in jail for trying to steal our warmth this winter. The cop who brought the package back didn't give us any details about the woman, but said she admitted to the theft. It was hard for her to deny when the package was in her back seat and we have video footage of her literally looking into the camera. We'll be checking the arrest reports over the next couple of days to find out her name. And yes, we got free pizza, even though I told the manager it wasn't necessary because he helped so much and we got our package back, but he insisted. Damn. Stealing a package in broad daylight while driving a Domino's Jeep is next level dumb. Did she really think no one would notice a branded vehicle pulling a fast one? Especially with a Ring camera catching her red-handed? Getting your heater back and free pizza must have been the ultimate win. Enjoy that warmth and those slices. You earned them. And let's be real, porch pirates like her deserve every bit of trouble they get. And our second story. Take all your stuff and leave. This was months ago, back in May. I'd been living in an apartment with 3 other roommates, so 4 of us total, for about 8 months. We were all women in our 20s. I barely interacted with my other roommates at all, just between our jobs and classes. We never saw each other. We all had our own rooms as well. For some context, on May 5th, my fiancé and I were planning to move into a new apartment together, so by the evening of the 4th, I had just about all my belongings packed up. More on that later. Though I barely interacted with my roommates, I felt like we coexisted well, and we never fought or argued about anything except for some very minor instances with Vicky and Kara. Those two were friends, and Vicky was definitely the messiest of the 4 of us living there. She'd leave her clothes in the dryer for days, pile dishes in the sink for more than a week before cleaning them, and often forget food in the fridge until it would rot. Maybe 5 times throughout my time living there, I would get a text in our group chat from Kara saying something like, "Hey, OP, I talked to the others and they said the dishes in the sink aren't there, so please clean them." This was annoying, but it happened infrequently enough it wasn't awful, and I figured Vicky lied to Kara about the messes, since it was just easier to throw me under the bus rather than own up to it herself. On the evening of May 4th, so the night before I was planning to move out, Kara sent a very long and scathing text to our group chat. She went on and on about how she's tired of my messes, hates all my stuff strewn about the apartment, and also personally attacked me, calling me disgusting and inconsiderate. Since I was leaving literally the next day, I didn't see any reason to start a fight, so I just said it was her lucky day and I was actually moving out the next morning. She replied, "Whatever you say, just take all your stuff and leave." As I'd mentioned earlier, I had packed most of my belongings already, but technically not everything. The four of us all moved into the apartment at about the same date, but I moved in a few days earlier than the others. This means I had bought a lot of the communal items myself. I was planning to leave these out of kindness despite them being worth $400. However, once I got that text from Kara, I decided I would in fact take all of my stuff and leave. These communal items included all trash cans in the whole apartment, $100, the Wi-Fi router, $150, a large metal shelving rack, probably the one that hurt the most, $150. The shelving rack was likely the most devastating loss for them since they had tons of stuff. For reference, the kitchen had 10 cupboards and 8 drawers, of which I used 2 cupboards and 1 drawer to store my items. The cupboards I used were also the ones above the microwave and the fridge, since I'm the tallest and wanted to be considerate. All the rest of the cupboards, drawers, and the entire metal rack, which had 5 large shelves, were filled to the brim with my roommate's stuff. Essentially, there was absolutely no way they'd be able to fit it in the amount of space I left behind without buying another rack or putting it on the counter and floor. I was careful to keep all their stuff from the rack organized and neat when I removed it, and everything from the rack completely covered the counters, kitchen table, and coffee table in the living room. I moved out peacefully with all my belongings the next day and have been happy in my new apartment with my fiancée. A few days after moving out, Vicky texted the group chat that FYI, the Wi-Fi isn't working anymore. I wonder why. And at that point, I left the chat. I've wondered how long it took Kara to realize that it actually was never me that was making messes in the apartment. But I guess I'll never know. You didn't argue, you didn't name call. You just took what was yours. I bet Kara's slowly piecing it together now, realizing she targeted the wrong person. But hey, not your circus, not your monkeys anymore. You moved on, leaving them to sort out their clutter and their bad decisions. That's a win. And our last story. The never-ending HOA saga. Some background. My mom bought our house in 1997, and it's been her home for 27 years. Life hasn't always been kind to us. After my parents divorced, my mom had a rough few years where the house maintenance took a back seat. As much as I wanted to help, I was still a kid back then. But fast forward to today, and we've been working hard to fix things up and bring the house back to life. One of the major issues was the siding in our backyard. It was falling apart. We had someone come out to give us an estimate, but the cost was high and we needed to save up before moving forward. Meanwhile, the falling siding wasn't even visible unless you ventured deep into our backyard and peered through the massive rose bush growing there. It wasn't hurting anyone, at least that's what I thought. While my mom was away on vacation, I received a notice from the city saying we had 1 month to fix the siding or we'd face fines. I was surprised because, again, it wasn't even visible from the street. I assumed maybe it was a nosy neighbor or a random complaint. Later that same day, while I'm in the backyard figuring out what to do, I spot a random woman standing there, clipboard in hand. Me. Excuse me, who are you and why are you in our yard? Karen. I'm with the HOA from the neighborhood behind yours. I'm here about this rose bush. It's far too high and needs to be trimmed immediately. If you don't, we'll call the city and you'll be fined. Me. This isn't your property. Get out of my yard before I call the cops. She huffed and puffed, but eventually stomped off, grumbling something about property values and neighborhood standards. 2 weeks later, another notice from the city arrived. This time it said we needed to clean up our yard or face fines. Frustrated, I decided to go straight to the city office to figure out what was happening. The person I spoke to was understanding, but admitted they'd been fielding multiple complaints from the same group, the HOA. City employee: honestly, we don't usually enforce these kinds of things unless there's a real safety hazard, but the HOA behind your street has been relentless. They keep calling and reporting your property. They gave me an extension and clarified that cleaning up meant trimming and mowing the yard. Fine, I thought. If it shuts them up, I'll do it. But it didn't end there. Every time we made any progress, the HOA found a new reason to complain. The grass wasn't cut short enough, the rose bush grew back too quickly. They even had the audacity to knock on my door and demand we consider joining their HOA. Apparently, they were on some sort of campaign to absorb our neighborhood into their jurisdiction. Karen: if you joined, these issues wouldn't happen. We'd help you keep the property in shape. Me: you mean harass us every week? No thanks. She sneered: suit yourself. Don't be surprised if we call the city again. One of my neighbors told me that the HOA tried to pull the same nonsense with them. They've been targeting the entire street, harassing people to join and reporting them for every minor violation they can think of. It's like their sole mission is to make everyone miserable. I'd had enough. I put up no trespassing signs around the property and installed cameras that covered every angle of the yard. The next time Karen set foot on our property, I called the cops. When the officer arrived, I showed them the footage. Karen stood there with her clipboard, brazenly jotting notes in my backyard. Officer: ma'am, you can't enter someone's property without permission. This is trespassing. Karen: I'm with the HOA. I'm protecting neighborhood standards. Officer: this isn't your jurisdiction. If you come back, you'll be cited. I've been documenting every incident since then, including their attempts to force us into their HOA and their baseless complaints to the city. I'm considering filing a formal harassment claim if they don't back off. The city employee even told me that other neighbors are starting to report them for excessive calls and interference. For now, my yard is trimmed, the rose bush is thriving, and the cameras are catching every petty move Karen makes. I may not have a picture-perfect lawn, but I'll be damned if I let some power-hungry HOA bully us out of our home. It's amazing how these HOA folks can't grasp that they have no jurisdiction outside their own borders. Your rose bush isn't a crime scene, Karen. It's just thriving like your resistance. Keep documenting everything because this kind of behavior thrives in the shadows. A formal harassment claim might just be the cherry on top of this saga. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.